Welcome back to the Cuddy and Govy Show, www.cuddyandgovy.com. That's our website. Go on our website and see all our great reels. We had some great reels last week. One blew up. One on TikTok was over 4,000 views in 15 minutes. So that was the one going down that dangerous alley in Palm Beach that had the one-way sign. Then another big one was the one on Apple Vision Pro, which we're going to talk about today. Another big one was the Boeing with the door flying out. Anyway, we're on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Apple. We want to first get into the Grammys. Winners for the week. We're going to talk winners and losers. The winners are the Grammys. I hope everybody saw it. It was unbelievable. I thought that Trevor Noah, is that how you say his name? Trevor?
Yes.
He was a great host. It was very non-political. Normally there's political speeches and all kinds of stuff. It was just fun. It was non-political. And the stars of the show, besides Taylor Swift, who won the fourth-time Album of the Year, which is a record for the Grammys, the big winners were Tracy, Chapman, and Luke Combs. We have a little... Ben is going to play, our great producer, Ben, even though we're in a lover's quarrel now, Ben and I. Ben's going to play. This was a little... Had a feeling I could be someone,
be someone. Tracy Chapman makes a rare appearance to perform her 1988 hit Fast Car, and it's all thanks to Luke Combs.
You want it to be worth the wait.
That's great. Yeah,
okay.
We don't need the interview, but there's a great backstory to this. Gavy's going to give us the backstory. I didn't know the backstory, and Govy told me yesterday.
Yeah,
when we were talking.
it really is. It's a great story. This story meant a lot to him. And
Luke Combs.
Luke Combs,
right?
meant a lot to him, and he used to listen to this song with his dad in their F-150 pickup truck, and it gave him he came from like a small town, so he always thought it was a way like he could get out of town, and he listened to it. It was his favorite song. So when they were coming up and he was cutting albums, they were just saying, "What else do you want to play?" And he decided just to cover this song. Not thinking it wasn't going to do anything.
Fast Cars. And it was great. And when it started climbing the charts, a lot of liberals out there, I'm going to say white liberals, they thought it was very, that he is a Trump MAGA guy and that it's unfair that he's stealing her song and that he's making all this money and Tracy Chapman isn't. And as it turns out, she gets a royalty, and she was very happy that she came into $1 million, like $1.5 million, and she was very happy with it. And he had a lot of respect for her. He wasn't doing it for any reasons that these people are saying. So meanwhile, he reached out to her and did a duet with her. So her career, she was legendary, but her career's kind of on the downside.
She took it easy.
Yeah.
She's been dormant for 20 years.
20 years, right.
20 years. So now all of a sudden she comes in to $1 million.
By Luke Combs.
By Luke Combs, it was like a gift. So she's looking at it like a gift just came to me, and people are saying like he's taking advantage of her. He's not taking advantage of her. He's doing. And as it turns out now, fast forward, her Fast Cars is #1 now on the pop chart. She's #1.
So what happened was Luke Combs invited Tracy Chapman, got the approval from the Grammys to come on the show.
To do a duet.
To do a duet, and it was standing room only. Applause from like Beyonce, Jay-Z,
100 million people watched this.
100 million, yeah. So it was the most amazing thing. It was a tearjerker.
Right.
I mean,
and
you wanted to cry.
And she's making money off of it now, and she's back. And she might even make a comeback now with the whole thing.
Right.
So, just how people, they're so quick to judge and not knowing, this guy was upset because that's not who he is as a person.
And Luke Combs, I downloaded his album. I'm listening to it today in the gym. I mean, I thought he was so cool. I never even listened to him before.
And I got to tell you, my wife is from the Midwest, and she listened to that song all the time as a young girl, and it meant a lot to her.
It was unbelievable. Anyway, so I just wanted to jump to that because it was a real feel-good moment. I urge everybody to Google the Grammys.
on, if you're watching the whole Grammy show, it's at the 22nd minute. It's pretty cool. Anyway, let's jump over to the Super Bowl. It's the biggest thing happening. It's this week. I think you're going to have 1 billion people besides Joe Biden watching, I guess, and Donald Trump's going to watch. But it's gigantic, and it's in Las Vegas, which is just a crazy place to have a Super Bowl because it's already crowded, and all private jets can't get in there because all the reservations are taken. And so, Govy, this is your last pick of the season. You have 2 great teams, Kansas City, the 49ers.
Well, this is a rematch of like 3 years ago.
What's the spread? Is it 3.5?
I think it's 3 points,
3 points.
3.5 points. I like San Francisco. And, they lost to Kansas City the last time they were in the Super Bowl. But listen, there's crazy stuff that happens like 3 days before the Super Bowl. I remember the year when the Oakland Raiders were playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the starting center for the Oakland Raiders, he went AWOL the night before. They found him in Tijuana. The guy, I think his name's Robbins or something. His career, he never showed up.
Wow.
And so people are thinking in Vegas some crazy stuff's going to happen. I'm not sure what's the.
I guess the team is quarantined, though. They're not going to let these guys out into the town.
Well, what's because the announcer for, what is it, Buck? What's his name?
Yeah.
He's basically saying he thinks something's going to happen. He thinks something negative is going to happen in Las Vegas. He was saying that, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, it's a tough town.
He doesn't think it's going to stay in Vegas. He thinks somebody's going to do something stupid and it's going to be all over.
And historically, a lot of these ball players, they get all these giant contracts. I think the statistic is 70-80% of them in 5 years are broke. So you're assuming tons of them are big gamblers. They're going to end up at the tables gambling.
And there's girls. That's everything.
Hookers,
it's
drugs, alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the Super Bowl for hookers.
I mean, to think, yeah, it is.
It is. I mean, that's where all the great hookers go for this weekend.
To think that you weren't allowed to gamble, and now Las Vegas is actually hosting a Super Bowl is crazy. But, they hosted the NBA All-Star Game, and I was there.
Oh, you were?
I was there, and I got to tell you something. The gangs that came in from Los Angeles that overtook the casinos and overthrew the tables and chips were everywhere. It was.
But you have to imagine the police force and National Guard are on, high alert.
They're the highest of alert.
Yeah, because you have so many wealthy people, you have so many ball players, you have so many people.
But,
what is it, like 1 billion people watch it?
Yeah, but don't forget.
Crazy number?
But don't forget, people don't go to sleep at night until 4 o'clock in the morning. So there's a lot of stuff that the NFL tries to be secure. But if I told you, you won't believe what took place at 3 o'clock in the morning. That to you is late. But when you're in Las Vegas,
well, I'm getting up for the next day.
Yeah, but in Las Vegas, that's like in the wheelhouse. I mean, that's a lot of stuff is going on at 3 in the morning, and that's what you're going to read about. I predict that. But there's some great stories just to let you feel like you're getting a little older, the star of the San Francisco 49ers is the running back, McCaffrey. And the coach of the San Francisco 49ers is Shanahan. Isn't it kind of funny that McCaffrey's father, Ed McCaffrey, was a wide receiver on the Denver Broncos that won a Super Bowl, and Shanahan's father was the head coach of the Denver Broncos? And now the 2 kids that's the number 1 star, and here's the head coach. I mean, that's pretty. Yeah. But they grew up and they knew.
You wonder, is that genetics that they are that talented in the same family that they can make it to such an elite group, being an NFL ball player?
Well, imagine that they got together as kids.
Yeah.
As kids, and their dad, and it's the same relationship: player coach.
Wow.
I mean, that's a little crazy.
It's crazy.
If they both can wear a ring, all those years later.
So, as a side comment, years ago, I had to be in the company of Steve Wynn, and they were talking about he was talking about the Wynn Casino, this is Las Vegas, when he just built it. How often do you think they changed the carpet on the casino floor when he owned it? I don't know about now. He doesn't own it anymore. How often do you think they changed the carpet on the casino floor of the Wynn Casino?
Every 6 months?
How about every Sunday night?
No way.
Yes. When Steve Wynn
I was just
owned
shooting like hot, like for
yeah,
a number of
when
things.
Steve Wynn owned that casino, they changed the carpet once a week.
And what reason's that?
He didn't want it. He didn't want it. You know, I guess people smoke it or did smoke in the casinos. They spill stuff, coffee, drinks. Who knows what else is on the carpet? They change the carpet once a week. Anyway, so getting back to the winners and losers, there's hardly any winners, but there's a whole bunch of losers. One of them is the subject we talked about last week, the Apple Vision Pro, which our reels were blowing up on. Everybody was commenting on that, but it seems it's kind of tanking now. Because
Because now that it came out,
it's the Apple thing with the
they look like
goggles.
They look
Yeah.
like ski goggles because it's now that it's come out and it's no longer like a mystery. You look weird. Like, so you see these people putting them on and they're using their fingers to move the screens, and it's almost like they're not part of society. So, you know, it's one thing if you're at a dinner table, like I said, and you're watching a bunch of kids, but like you're not going to have three of your kids wearing their
Right.
goggles at a thing, but they're not really in. It's almost like the people that are into it right now to be the first to have it, not even to wait for the second edition. It's like they're almost like they're not part of society. Maybe they have some issues. Maybe, you know, they're on the curve. Autistic.
Also, the issue is, I mean, $3,500 is a lot of money. So people want it for various uses, gaming, watching sports. They also want to watch porn on it, believe it or not. And Apple has put this chip in it where over the internet, it can't get porn. So the people that are paying $3,500 and think they're going to get to watch porn through their goggles here, they can't.
They thought they were going to participate.
Yeah,
in the porn.
real life porn, and evidently, you know, that's
a big thing.
Huge. So Apple has a moral decision to make whether they take this chip out and let this Apple Vision Pro.
If they don't take the chip out, somebody will come up with a way to take the chip out, because that's like a
Aftermarket, like
the type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just I mean, if you're looking on.
Gavi's a problem solver. Everybody.
If you're
solve
just
the problem.
If you're looking at the people that are watching
Yeah.
the porn sites, there's some of your most successful porn sites out there.
Right. So that's obviously.
But I think you got some people that are on it right now. I think they're. I mean, you see them; they look like they're out to space. It's not accepted yet. That's all. It's just not accepted yet. It will be, but not yet.
Another big loser this week was McDonald's stock. Their earnings came out. They had to raise their price. A Big Mac combo now is over $18, Govy. So let's say you go to McDonald's with your two kids and your wife. It's going to cost you $50-$60 at McDonald's.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And, you know, for us, we're podcast superstars, and we don't even want to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, but the crazy thing with that, by the way, I had McDonald's stock, so I watched the stock go from 302. I swear. I went from 302, I watched the crash. I was like, I wanted to know what the hell happened. Like what can make a stock like jump like that? Because it was going up because they're trying to come up with those other restaurant ideas. But, you know, there's a lot to it. They're training you the way your thought process is. You know, when you first got a hamburger, and a hamburger was $5, and I'm not talking McDonald's, I'm talking outside, or $8 or $9. And that was like for the next step up from McDonald's, like a $9 hamburger. Then they got you at $12. And then all of a sudden they have you thinking like $15 is like normal, like that you're paying $15 just like a steak is. Where the benefit of this McDonald's is, if they can get $18
for the combo, and some people could eat two. That's $36.
But if you could do that, if you went to Morton's and you saw a steak there for $52 now, a New York strip steak, you're sitting there saying, you know, it's not that bad. $52 versus $18 for a Big Mac. It's, you know,
and you can wash it down with a martini. Right? But I mean, think about it. Like a big guy would have two Big Macs. That's $36, $37.
Didn't they used to have a whole menu, like a dollar menu?
Yeah, that went away. You know, that went away with the dollar.
You know what it goes to show you? That how many people use credit cards because
That's a lot of cash. Like someone, I could see people not walking around with $36 in
Right.
like cash. Like if they going out for a
Yeah.
McDonald's and they're like, I only have 20 on a $20 bill.
Then another loser for the week is King Charles, diagnosed with cancer. We suspect it's bladder cancer because they usually biopsy that when they do a prostate procedure, which is what he had. And he's giving up his official duties while he's recovering from this cancer.
But what's bladder cancer? What's the
So
percentage?
survival rate is 90% if it's caught early, which means nothing. Who knows if it was caught early or not? But
How do you
know,
catch it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess maybe.
Got homework for you.
Yeah.
I mean, is
yeah,
it a
we
blood
gotta
test?
catch
Is it a regular?
Oh no, they did a biopsy when they did the prostate. He went in for a prostate.
Don't you get that checked every year?
Yeah, but I think it was I think he did the same thing as Lloyd Austin did. He had some kind of prostate. Does have prostate cancer, and he had some prostate surgery, and they found bladder cancer. But you know, what shitty luck for him. The guy get control. He has control for 8 months. He was under his mother, who lived to what 95 or 99. He's waiting to be
His
king.
dad was 100.
Right. He's waiting to be king forever, sitting on his chair, and then all of a sudden he's king for 8 months or a year, and now he has bladder or whatever kind of cancer they think bladder cancer. But I'm just trying to figure out what are the official duties that he doesn't decide policy for England. What does a king do?
I think you're like an ambassador and you try to get involved in charities and bring awareness to certain things. I think his son, William,
Right.
I think he called up Harry and said, big mistake. Big,
Well, right.
big mistake.
Right.
Big. You know, that's, Harry flew over there. He's already flew back. They only spent less than an hour together.
Oh, is that really true?
Yeah.
I knew he flew over there. I didn't know he
And
flew
they made
back.
him stay at a hotel. There's no place for him to stay.
And then Buckingham Palace, 8,000
Right.
rooms. They can't.
Stayed in the hotel, and he's already back. So, whatever was said, they can't stand his wife, Markle.
Meghan, yeah, that's
That's
a
over.
deal breaker right there. And then we had that. There's a
Elon Musk
yeah.
took a hit where they took what? I don't understand that. $50 billion from him.
So I'm going to take the other side of that. I mean, Elon Musk, back when he was building this company, they came up with these metrics. If he met these metrics in, let's say, 5 or 10 years, he would get a $56 billion bonus. This is way back when it was just inconceivable. Sure, you want $50 billion, no problem. And he met the metrics 10 years later. If you sell 1 million cars, if you do this, if you do that. Now one of the stock owners went to court on a class action suit and filed a complaint against them to fight the $56 billion, and he won. So Elon Musk doesn't get the $56 billion bonus.
What does the guy who was the lead person in the class action, the lead guy, not all the other guys that get $1.49 on their debt, but the guy that's like the top person to the lawyer, what does the lawyer make on something like that?
I don't know. I don't know how that works because I guess the value of the company is worth more because Elon's taking out less. So I don't know how they figure the remuneration.
Isn't it saving the shareholders $50 billion?
Yeah, $56 billion.
So if they took $1 billion out of that,
Right.
I mean, do they just whack it up where the lawyer gets,
Probably most of it.
$400 million?
Yeah. You would think the lawyer gets a huge chunk, 30-40%.
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and there was a little controversy with Elon Musk. Evidently, Larry Ellison, now this is what they're saying, Larry Ellison wants to do an intervention. They say he's addicted to ketamine, which is for severe depression and some drug use. That's what Matthew Perry died of. And I'm just trying
Where do you get that?
Where do you get ketamine?
Yeah.
I guess you get it from a doctor, but I
I mean,
mean,
is it the type of thing that it's at like a CVS that you pick it up?
boy, Govy's asking some tough
Well, I
questions.
mean, it's like these things. I want to know, like where do you get this? I mean, like you're reading, like who? I never heard of ketamine, and why is Elon Musk? But then you know,
Well, he's depressed. He has 200. Now, explain to me, if you have $200 billion and, you know, he's had how many wives and what's
He
he
has
have, 8
kids
kids or something? What's he depressed about? I mean, I don't get it. But evidently, he, you know, last year when he was all whacked out, they said he was doing LSD. I didn't even know you could get a LSD anymore. That was like way back in
from
our
a lab.
college.
No, you can get that from a
Can you?
lab. I'm sure.
So kind of crazy. Another loser, obviously, is Toby Keith. Great legend, 62-year-old, died. He gave his last concert in December.
Yeah, he was in pain as he gave it.
Yeah, and he was thin. Did
Yeah,
you see
but I
the
mean, he was in pain, so he was in a lot of pain, and actually went through the pain to have a concert in December. I mean, it's like 2 months later, you know.
He was a legend.
He did a lot more. By the way, look what he did for the Red Solo Cup.
Yeah, that was
I mean,
a hit
that's
song.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
you know.
that's about the only song he does that I know.
Nah. He's done a lot, and he did a lot with, by the way,
Have you
going
seen-
overseas with the what is it, the USO?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
He did a lot
like
with that.
eight trips there. But did you see that new Red Solo Cup? Where if you turn it upside down, it's got a shot in the middle. Right through the bottom of the Solo Cup, there's an indentation the size of a shot glass, so you can you know.
Really?
Yeah. So in one cup, you have the Red Solo Cup. You turn it upside down. You can put a shot in there. Do the shot. Flip it back. Put your beer in it.
You know, in
That's a
it's
great
Chico,
invention.
Shot in a beer.
Shot in a beer. That's a great invention, somebody. Then we had, I don't really understand the story, but I'll take the other side of it. The woman that was convicted after the mother who was convicted after her son shot up a school, they claimed she was a negligent mother and she should have known her kid was crazy.
What's her name? Bromley? Is it Bromley?
Yeah,
Bromley?
somebody that her kid was
From Michigan.
Yeah, her kid was nuts. She should have known it. The husband is going on trial next week. She was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, facing 20.
It's the first parent ever to be found guilty of something their son did in the history of the United States.
So I don't understand the genesis of why she was, because they bought him a gun.
No, she bought him a gun 3 days before the shooting when she knew that he had mental issues. She had issues, by the way, and where her husband is going to get off. He's not going to go to jail, and he's going to get off. And the reason is that they had all these warnings. They didn't take him home that day of the shooting, but they never let the school, when he drew a picture of the gun and everything that they're doing, they never informed the school that they bought a gun for their son. That's something that you should say, that, by the way, he has a gun, we bought it for him. But the reason why the father's not going to go to jail, and she was the last person in possession of the gun. So she was the person responsible for locking the gun up, and she didn't, because she was busy with her lover at the time.
Yeah, she was cheating on the husband. She was negligent to her child.
Lying. He was calling her, and she wasn't even picking up the calls. So the husband's like, as far as he's concerned, he's going to say, I had it locked in the box.
Right.
And that's it. And
Plus, he has the cliff notes on how her trial went, so he knows what to say and what not to say.
and he didn't have an affair on her.
Right.
So, you know, he's...
But it's kind of crazy. If your kid's a little crazy, why are you buying him a gun? I mean, that makes no sense.
I think it's great. Where I'm really happy with the verdict, I think that a lot of all these school shootings that you want, you could try to take away all the guns, and that's where we're having all these problems with gun control, and the shootings keep happening. But boy, I'll tell you something. You put a parent in jail for negligence, there'll be a lot more parents that will think twice about if their kids own guns, what are they doing? Like, it becomes
a precedent.
Yeah, where all of a sudden
Yeah.
I think that'll change for the better than any of the gun
Point.
controls.
Excellent point. And it's kind of crazy. Now, every single parent, let's say you have a bar in your house and you have booze in your house, I mean, I've always been aware when my kids were around, and they were under 21, that I made sure I was there and I wouldn't let them drink. But this is the next level.
It's hard though with kids. I remember my kids, boy. They went into my Johnny Walker and they opened up the blue bottle. They could have gone black, but they went blue. And sometimes the stuff happens. Meanwhile, I got to give a quick shout out to my son-in-law Doug. It's his 40th birthday today.
Hey Doug, happy 40th.
I was just thinking of you, Doug, because my daughter went through my blue bottle of
right, you didn't educate
Johnny
her on prices.
Hopefully she doesn't do that now, and it'll be your bottle. But anyway, so there is that will be. By the way, this case with the gun will be used with alcohol, so it does open up a Pandora's box. Because, by the way, it's the same thing. Alcohol kills just like a gun. That'll be a case.
Yeah, if kids are drinking alcohol at the house, you have to take their keys away. I mean, if they're going to be in the basement having a party.
Well, do you have to lock up alcohol in the cabinet now?
If you're not at the house, you should. If you're there, it doesn't matter.
You really think a lock's going to make a difference?
Yeah, what are you going to go home and see your cabinet lock busted off? You're going to ask your kid what it was. The lock was on there when I left.
Those locks aren't meant to keep you out. You can stick a little thing. Do you ever have a door that was locked? You can stick a little thing in there, and it popped open as a little key. You say, "Hey, you can't lock me out."
I know how to get a washing machine and a laundromat to work without putting change in it. I was an expert at that in college. But then we have,
I got a winner for you, though.
Well, no winner. I don't have any winners this week.
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott, senator from
South
Carolina.
And Tim Scott, why he's a winner, is Tim Scott, in my opinion, is going to be Donald Trump's candidate for vice president.
He's the African-American guy that ran...
And he's getting,
for
by
president,
the way, right? And he's getting tons of abuse by people saying he's an Uncle Tom. He kisses Donald Trump's butt. He's not black enough. He's not gonna they're just hanging the View. The women on the View are hanging him out to dry. You would think he's horrible, but I think that Donald Trump is going to choose him, and I think he will be great for the Republican Party, because I think Donald Trump, if he becomes president,
is that a DEI hire?
No, okay. It's not, because this guy is 100% qualified.
Okay.
So I'm going to go on this.
And Nikki Haley appointed him.
And he's done great things for South Carolina. He's done great things for the United States with some of these bills that he's involved with some of the helping with Trump doing the schools with the blacks in the schools and business centers in the schools and in the districts, business districts in the inner cities. And I think that if the economy gets turned around, which I think it will under the next president anyway after the cycle, I think that Tim Scott could be president for 8 years. And if you're president for 8 years and you're a black conservative president, there's a lot of young kids out there, a lot of African Americans that are going to sit there and say, wait, we are doing better. Like, if you really help out the inner cities, you could turn over a whole group of people from Democrat, change them from actually a party, from Democrat to Republican. And you could see that the African American population be conservative, which would be a huge boost for Republicans.
Well, they are dropping, that notion, trial balloons, to see, I guess they're doing polling to see if people are accepting of him as a vice presidential candidate.
African-American men are going for Trump right now.
Right. And the election is so tight, I think they were 10% of the vote last time. If he gets 15% in the big cities and things like that, it could turn things.
I think he could turn things where I think there's going to be a blue state out there that's going to shock you by the time November comes, that Trump's going to win, that you're going to sit there, that will be, someone will say, wow, that will be like an earth-shattering state. Like if Illinois turned red.
Boy, that'd be hard to imagine. Joe Biden's the union president. It'd be hard to imagine.
We got to talk about him because I got.
Well, let's talk about, because let's talk about this case Trump did lose, this immunity case. And I'm going to take.
He didn't lose it all yet. It's going to. He knows it's going to the Supreme Court.
Let's tell our 200 and whatever 90,000 listeners what this case was about. Donald Trump was claiming the president of the United States has absolute immunity, and he can do and say anything he wants.
While he's president.
While he's president.
Right.
And
no, like not just any, like you can't be an ex-president.
No, while he's president.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that's really, because let's say Barack Obama bombed, somebody.
And innocent people got hurt.
And it happened under Barack Obama.
Right.
Are they going to come back to him 10 years later, 5 years later, and say, you don't have immunity? You made the decision to bomb it, and all these innocent kids died in the school or whatever happened. I think the president has to have absolute immunity. I guess the issue is it can't be have immunity of a crime.
But isn't it the immunity that he was asking for? First of all, it's on the resurrection of
January 6th.
January 6th, but yet you could separate that. He was never convicted, so he's only asking for immunity for something that he's never been convicted of.
Right.
So how can you try him for a crime that he hasn't been convicted of? He's just setting the groundwork.
Yeah, it's the Jack Smith case.
But he's setting the groundwork in case he gets convicted.
Right.
He should go for immunity. He still has to be convicted of something that he.
Well, I think that's his get out of jail free card. The claim of immunity. He was president of the United States. He's immune for prosecution.
Well, his get out of jail free card is win the election, and this is a federal case, and he can dismiss it like that himself anyway.
Right. And I say if Donald Trump wins the election and he wins the House and the Senate, he's going to try and overturn the 8 years of only president.
No way.
You can only be a president for 8 years. He's going to try and make it 12 years.
No, he won't. No, he won't.
Why do you say that? He wouldn't leave the White House
because of his age now. If he was 55 years old, I wouldn't put anything past you if he was 55. At this age, he's going to pass the torch. He gets to say, I was president. I was number 45. I was 47. I was down. I rose back to the top.
Which is an amazing comeback.
No one has ever done that. They indicted me. They wanted me to face 462 years. They threw everything at me. They threw Stormy Daniels. They threw Carol at me. They threw it all at me. I beat them all.
So what do you think of the fact that Joe Biden, it's tradition, the president gives a speech at the Super Bowl, and Joe Biden is refusing to give a speech at the Super Bowl this year. Donald Trump wants to give the speech.
Right.
I joined Gamblers Anonymous, and they said that 2-1 against me that I wouldn't make it. But anyway, it's hard to believe that the president, in front of 1 billion people, he doesn't want to give a free speech. And
because you're making a statement, and the statement that you're making to the country is he's deteriorating in front of your eyes every day. So when the news has to.
Is it a news conference they've done in the past? I forget. Whatever.
First of all, he has a cheat sheet on him where he has every subject. He knows every question. He knows every answer. He just has to read it. But this is something where the country's looking at him with 150 million people watching this thing. It's a fluff piece, and he can't do it. So it used to be, and it gets tiring when you see the media, national media, they'll sit there and say, did you hear Donald Trump? He called Nikki Haley Nancy Pelosi by accident. This guy has 4 cases on him, civil trial cases. Right. He's campaigning. He's in 6 states, and they're holding him to that. Joe Biden is sitting there giving a speech. Someone asked him a question about Israel and Hamas. And he couldn't think of the word Hamas. It was the opponent. And someone in the press corps had to say, Hamas?
Right.
And he had to say, yes.
Opposition, he said,
Then he couldn't remember Macron, the president of France. He's mentioning the president that died in 1996. Joe Biden can't talk more than 2 minutes without you knowing that there's something wrong.
Well, I was
They're
watching.
going to hide him.
Yeah, the other night I was watching the debate between him and Donald Trump. What, 4 years ago, and he was remarkably different.
And
than
he
is.
was, and by the way, he was slipping then the people were, but
But
he
he was
was
remarkably different than he is now.
even his walk, his talk. You know, presidents take a lot out of you. We've never seen a president at his age before. Like, by the way, we used to see what George Bush looked like before he was president.
Yeah.
And then when he came out, what
Yeah.
Barack Obama looked like. Well,
Yeah.
we never got to see an 80-year-old, what he looks like at 80 and what he looks like at.
Well, I know my dad, who's 94, has Parkinson's, and when you have Parkinson's, you have this look, this stare, and Joe Biden has that. He
Right.
definitely, if I'm going to diagnose him from this far away, I think that he has Parkinson's, onset Parkinson's, and it's
Or a
coming on.
Lewy body type of
Yeah,
disease,
yeah.
which
So-
is like a form of dementia
Yeah.
that comes in. And, you know, what's interesting is they're going to hide him. Their game plan is that there's going to be no debates. They're going to, they also want it to be that he does a lot of podcasts. So he's going to try to come on everybody's podcast that he knows the questions for, he has the answers for, and it won't be like any rally. It won't be any questions that are off the cuff. Because, you know, someone asks him one question and he looks like a fool, it could be over. And I do think that he's going to have to address that if he can't make it, is Kamala Harris going to be the president of the United States?
Well, she's vice president.
But is she getting a pat? Right now, everybody's not saying anything. When you start turning up the heat, and
Right.
I'm talking turning it up like May, June, I think Kamala Harris you're going to watch her deteriorate.
Well, she's the vice president, and if the guy maybe he has a plan that he's
But
going to
what
win the
happens if
election.
there's a debate between Tim Scott and Kamala Harris?
I just don't think they're going to debate.
Not even the vice presidents?
No. Why? Why take a chance? But maybe the plan is Joe Biden have him win, and then he a month to 5 months after he wins, resign for health reasons, and Kamala Harris is now the president of the United States. She won't win on her own, but that's the way to get her in there and continue the legacy of the Democratic Party.
I think that the national media, I think if I was Fox News, I would call them out every single day by name. I would say, David Muir, ABC News, why aren't you asking these follow-up questions? Why are you covering up for Joe Biden and hurting the U.S.?
They just won't answer.
Why aren't you doing all these certain things? And I would bring up all these things that are true or not true. And, I do think that Joe Biden will not be the candidate. When it comes down, and I've said it a year ago already, he will not be the candidate for this thing. It'll be someone else.
Well, his confidential papers are supposed to come out next week. The stuff that he had in his garage at the Biden Center at University of Pennsylvania. The investigation's over, evidently, and whatever he took when he was vice president and senator is supposed to come out, and they say it's somewhat damning. You don't know. That could bounce him out, too.
Yeah, because you know what's kind of crazy? If I said to you, who is this Jack Smith? Do you know who he is?
No.
Isn't he the guy that's investigating?
Oh, yeah, I know who he is. I don't know anything about him.
No, but you know his name.
Yeah.
Like, the Jack Smith is the guy that's
right.
that wants to put Donald Trump in
Yeah.
jail. Do you know who the investigator is?
No
That
idea.
is investigating Joe Biden?
No idea.
Special counsel?
No idea.
Either do I.
But at some point, Merrick Garland just has to save his soul. He just can't keep sweeping this stuff under the rug. I mean,
I think Garland is sort of like a captain on a ship, and he's sitting there, and he can't react too fast, but the orchestra is playing, and eventually he's going to have to get into a lifeboat because it's going down, and Garland's going to save himself. He's not going to like set himself up for these questions afterwards.
This is the problem, as I see it. It's like the sand clock or whatever it is. All these guys know if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, he's just coming after all of them. Big time.
He is.
He's just coming with everything he's got. And Garland knows he's right in his scope. So you have to believe he has to, if Donald Trump is convincingly winning the polls, a bunch of people are going to take deals, try and make deals so they don't go to jail. If they know Donald Trump's going to be the next president of the United States, they're not taking a shot.
He's calling the shots now, which is kind of cool. It's like never in my life before have I ever seen a guy that hasn't even won yet to be the candidate yet is already controlling Congress and the Senate. It's like Mitch McConnell. Did you get permission from Donald Trump? Like he is controlling the Republican side.
He kind of has the look. Like you look like a podcast superstar. He has the jet with the American flag on it.
Right.
He has the 20 Secret Service around him. He has the motorcade.
He knows the in and outs.
He has the motorcade. So right now, even though he's not the current president, he still has all the trappings of like being a president. So he looks he's got the blue suit.
Right, and he was an incumbent.
Yeah, he was an incumbent. No, look, he's going to hit the ground running. He knows Putin. He knows Chairman Xi. He knows Kim Jong-un. He knows
So
them
how
all.
do you feel about Tucker Carlson, who was very friendly with Donald Trump?
Right.
He's going to have a sit-down interview with Putin. And it's going to be on a podcast. And it'll be, how many people do you think will listen to that podcast?
I won't. I don't.
I will. I bet you 50 million people will watch it.
I mean, Putin's a killer and a liar. What's he really going to say that I'm interested in? He's just going to say something.
He's going to say, "This is what I need. I want to have a ceasefire. I want to be able. This is what I'm looking for. We could end this war." I want to see if Tucker Carlson could say, if Donald Trump was president, do you see that there is an out clause that you can maybe get out of
What's
this?
he going to say? Joe Biden's in the tank for me. Joe Biden cut off all drilling in America, so I have most of the oil with Saudi Arabia, and the prices are high. And I got so rich because I ran.
Do you think these world leaders know? You know,
What do you
they
think,
all know that
Tucker
Joe Biden's
Carlson's
out to
going to
lunch.
break them down and get them to admit anything?
Well, no, because they think that Joe Biden's out to lunch. So I think they think that Trump will be the next president. So you better come across like.
I don't think Putin wants Trump. He wants Biden.
But he knows that you got a hedge. If you think it's going to be Trump, you better like what you say now. Don't piss off the guy because it's going to be Trump.
Yeah, but I think China, Russia, they don't want Trump. They
don't.
want Biden. Trump, they're worried about. They want Biden.
They do.
Yeah, because they know they can't. Look what they're doing to Biden right now across the world. Nah, I'm not going to watch that. Is it a pay-per-view?
No, it's just on his. It's on X.
Podcast?
By the way, it's going to be on Twitter, now known as
X.
And it's going to be as is, that they won't block anything.
Oh, come on, really?
Yeah, it'll be highly rated. You watch.
I mean, I don't have any interest in it. I'd rather watch, a stupid rerun of an Entourage episode or something.
Well, let me ask you a question. When was the last time Joe Biden spoke to America?
I think it's been 116 days.
Okay, I'm like, when was the last time? Like, so far we have Israel right now, Netanyahu.
What's going on with Israel? Nobody even talks about it.
Well, Netanyahu and Biden can't stand each other.
Right.
Can't stand each other. We're now attacking the Iran forces, the Houthis. We're becoming attacked. We had Lloyd Austin disappeared for 6 days.
He's back.
Our southern border now, all of a sudden now is a crisis that Joe Biden is just waking up. Yet he hasn't spoken to America yet. You would think that this Super Bowl, 3 minutes, say whatever you want. You have things to say. Are you trying to tell me he's passing 3 minutes of lob questions?
Well, in my opinion, and, again, I'm not anti-Joe Biden, but I think after he just attacked the Houthis with 200 missiles, he should have come on TV that night and said, all right, you killed 3 of our guys. I'm coming after you dudes now. I just, sent all these missiles after you, and I'm sending more. But he didn't. That was a wasted opportunity.
What do you think about the Israel and Palestine talking about maybe a ceasefire of 4 months?
I think it's stupid. I mean, either, first of all, Gaza, Palestine, Hamas, whoever it is, they'll violate it in 2 weeks. They're supposed to get 1,000 prisoners back, which I'm sure are all bad guys, It's like a stupid deal for America, for Israel to make. I mean, I don't know why they're doing it.
You know what's crazy? This is over the hostages, and they already kind of told Israel that, like, half of them are
dead. I think.
Yeah, no, they want the bodies.
They want the bodies, but they're
Right.
half of them are dead. But here's what I think. I think when Israel sees that red-headed little baby boy that was 7 months old when he was kidnapped, and he's now, a year and 2 months, and when they find out that baby's dead, I think
Well, they gotta know the baby's dead. The
Because-
Mossad and all that know all this stuff, don't you think?
I don't think they know exactly which people. If that baby's dead,
Right.
it's like there's no ceasefire. I mean, he's like the face of one of the faces of the hostages now. You can kill that baby. There is no breaking peace for 4 months, and I think Israel's not done yet. They have to flood these tunnels still.
Why do they even have to give them the prisoners? But just do a ceasefire, stop. That's it. We're done. I beat the
Right.
living hell out of you guys. Give me the hostages back if they're alive, and we'll stop fighting you. And that's it. What do they need to keep fighting for? I mean, these guys aren't going to go away. You're not going to kill every last one of them. So why are you continuing to go in there and lose Israeli soldiers?
And you don't hear anything on Ukraine right now. Nothing.
Right. It's crazy.
But they won $40 billion.
Yeah, Zelensky ran out of those green outfits that he used to wear.
He hasn't even come back yet.
Yeah, he hasn't come back because he doesn't have any more green
If
outfits.
Trump wins, I think I truly believe that comes to an end. That war is settled pretty quick.
Oh, because I think, Zelensky's so crooked and Trump knows exactly what.
And we're not going to be giving $40 billion
yeah,
to Ukraine
no,
anymore.
yeah.
And our southern border will go back. It's...
He just calls Zelensky up, says, come on over here. We're going to have a little meeting and, tell me what Joe did. And, that's how
and
we're
this
going to
phone
end
call
this
is
thing.
not going to go as smooth as the last phone call.
Well, we're not going to do it on the phone. We're going to do it in person, just the two of us.
Right.
Anyway, Govy, we're coming down to the end. This show flew by.
By the way, did you catch the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I did. I thought it was a 6 out of 10. What you think?
I think he's losing a little speed on the fastball. It's like he lost some miles per hour.
So
He's forcing it.
So I went back. I binged it over the weekend. I watched all of season 8, which was a great season. You got to watch that one.
What season's this now?
This is like 11.
Okay.
So I binge watched season 8 because I was reading stuff and they said that was the best season.
Is that what Ted Dastan was?
Yeah, but it was like the Palestinian chicken one. Yeah,
great.
there were some great ones with the golf tournament with the LOL. The wife of the guy who was having an affair.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a really funny one. And then I compared it to the new one that was out, and it's night and day. Right. Leon was so funny in season 8. Larry moves to New York with Jeff Garland,
right.
And gets a place there, and Leon shows up. So Larry's competing for a date with this gorgeous girl he meets, and Rosie O'Donnell is competing. She's a bisexual. So anyway, Leon gives Larry David a Viagra. Larry had never juiced before, So he has sex with this girl, and she's laying like crippled in bed after sex, and Larry's all cocky and everything. And, she blows off Rosie O'Donnell. And so Rosie O'Donnell finds out he was juicing, he's doing a Viagra. It was such a funny episode. You go back and watch that, season 8.
Right.
It was like season 8, episode 4 or 5, something like that.
No, they were great. I think he's like lost a little bit where he's like, but, and he's not. And it's important now because you got to try to keep politics out. And that Trevor on the Noah on the Grammys, he kept politics out of this,
great.
and that's why he was great.
Yeah.
Where the Academy Awards, as soon as you mention something.
But look, you're making so much money on these series. If you're Seinfeld, you're The Sopranos, you're Curb Your. When do you decide we're done? We can't be funny anymore. We can't have a good series. Blue Bloods. Blue Bloods, it's their last season.
Everybody Loves Raymond, Ray Romano.
How do they decide
He
that?
walked away.
Yeah. At some point, you just can't make funny anymore.
Because I think if you become like a producer or executive producer,
right,
and you get to share in the reruns,
like Ben is for us.
Yes, exactly. Then you get to step. It's easier to step away. Like if you're friends, you could. They all got titles and they can step away. Where if you're not and you're just
I think
If you're Jeff Garland, well, not Jeff Garland. Some of them they want to keep going as long as they can.
I know, but I think Larry David made a mistake. If this is going to be what his season's like, even last season kind of sucked.
Yeah.
If this is what his season's going to be like, he
Well,
missed
first of
the
all,
boat.
it's not believable right now. So just so you know, like
Yeah, like he was going to a birthday party in Atlanta, Larry David.
and didn't get paid.
And didn't get paid. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How much do you think it would cost? If you wanted Larry David to have lunch with you, how much would it cost? $1 million? $500,000?
No, but
Like you and I, being podcast superstars, they can have us for lunch for $20, $30.
I could just call. I could just call up Larry David and say I'll meet you at Nate and Al's. You ever Larry King used to be at Nate and Al's.
Was that where they have a sandwich named after
Yeah,
him?
it's right on off of Rodeo.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's getting a little predictable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's forcing it.
Right, and it's tough for to stay up to 10 o'clock to watch it. And I had to buy HBO Max for $15.99 a month. Just
The streaming stuff is.
I know. I mean, I'm going broke.
How
on all
about
these apps.
how about one last thing? How about Patrick Mahomes' father gets arrested for the third time DUI in Texas, and the law in Texas is that he could face 10 years in jail.
Well, I don't. Again, I'm going to take the other side of this. I don't know why that should even make the newspapers. Who cares? I mean, it's his father. It's not him.
Well, because it's the
if he
third
got
time-
arrested, he's
Because the third time is the third time, and they have him on tape, on video,
Yeah.
failing everything.
Yeah.
It's an open and shut case. I mean,
big deal. I mean, it's not Patrick Mahomes. I mean, who's he?
well, it comes into question on if it's the third time. Why isn't there's enough money there? Why is this guy not having a
Maybe
driver?
he's estranged from his father. Who knows? But I mean, I just hate when I'm going to take the other side, Govy. I'm going to fight with you here. I just hate when they have these, things where you're like separated by one person or one generation, and the child is responsible for the parent. I understand the parent's responsible for the child, but how's the child responsible for what the father's doing?
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not responsible. But when everybody's asking you questions on what's your favorite meal and what you have last night, and is Taylor Swift going to land in time? Your father with a DUI on the week of the Super Bowl is going to come up if your dad is looking at jail time.
So Taylor Swift again. I don't think it should be a conversation at the Super Bowl. It should be about.
Remember, I said they're getting married. You said they're not.
They're not going to get married. There's
They are
no
gonna get
way.
married.
There's no way. But I am in Gamblers Anonymous, so 2-1 they bet against me that I wouldn't make it. But I don't really want to see her. I want to hear about the history of the players, the coaches. Why it's in Vegas. I want to watch the shows, all the parties in Vegas. I don't want to see Taylor Swift. She just won the Grammys. Let her be.
Did you see that? By the way, mentioning Toby Keith, he signed her to her first label
saw
at 15
that.
years old.
Yeah.
And did you see Michael Rubin and Robert Kraft at the Grammys where they got
Were they there?
Oh yeah, front row, big table.
So Bob Kraft owns the New England Patriots. Great owner.
And Michael Rubin's friendly with, I guess, all the rap stars.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
so,
he does all the rap. He has all the stuff with
Taylor
Fanatics.
Swift gave him, and Robert Kraft let her perform at Gillette Stadium back in the day, so they know each other.
One of the great parts of another tearjerker was Adele, the great singer. Did you see that segment with her at the thing? So she's in the Grammys, and that Noah, whatever his name is, goes over to her and, stops her on the floor and says, I understand your favorite person on earth, this is to Adele, that you've never met, is Dwayne Johnson. And, everybody's...
The Rock?
Everybody's waiting for Dwayne Johnson to come over and say hello to her. And he said, well, Dwayne Johnson's not here tonight, but The Rock is. And The Rock comes out from behind and then gives Adele a big kiss and hug. And she's like, this is Adele, one of the biggest singing stars on earth, is like blown away. She's meeting her idol, The Rock.
You would think Rich Paul could arrange that, especially the University of Miami football player.
But you would think like a mega superstar like that, there's nobody other than Frank Sinatra,
Let me ask you this question. When you were watching the Grammys, do you feel a little old when you watch Joni Mitchell sing a song that a lot of kids have no idea who she is. She's 80 years old, still has the voice. I remember, like, I could shut my eyes when she was, like, in the early 70s. She was, like, hanging out with Neil Young
Right.
and David Crosby and
But there's
James Taylor.
But there's piles of stars like Tony Bennett had 25 years in his career where he was dark, and he made a comeback. Like this Tracy Chapman is going to make a comeback. Now, Joni Mitchell, now maybe the kids will, buy her albums or her songs, and she'll make a comeback.
Yeah, man, she's 80 and
Billy
has
Joel, he did his
He's
brand.
trying to make a comeback.
Well, he
but
did his first new
What
song.
you think of that song?
Horrible.
Me too.
I mean, I love Billy Joel.
oh my
I've been to
God.
15 Billy Joel concerts. He has two fingers that are like no bones in them from falling off a motorcycle, and he still can play the piano.
I think he has as much chance as a comeback as Bruce Willis does as being in Die Hard 4.
Oh no, he still sells out concerts. Billy Joel still sells, but I mean whether
No, I'm saying
a hit song.
a hit song.
Yeah.
This is his first hit song in 25 years.
Right.
Stick to the old stuff, but if
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
that this is going to be a hit, Bruce Willis is going to be in Die Hard 4.
Right, that's funny, but I mean, it's like these series. When are you done? I mean, how many shows do you do, and then Larry David does a show and it stinks, and it puts, a bad smell on the whole series, right?
Well, you want to know something? Grateful Dead, they had their farewell tour.
Wait, Govy's, can we go up for another hour, Ben? I mean, Govy's not done.
I just want you to know.
You're
the
having so much
well,
fun today.
Well, you
I
were
mean-
saying the Grateful Dead had a farewell tour,
Right.
and everybody said it was done. But
Right.
it's not done. It's never done because they're going to
Okay,
play in
so-
the Sphere in Las Vegas, and I'm going to be out there.
All right, so let me ask you this question. I mean,
would love to see them at the
our
Sphere.
generation, when we die off, who's going to go see something like that? Do the young kids like Grateful Dead and Bob Dylan today?
Sure, they're going to see a hologram of them, and they're going to perform.
Right.
And they do like the. By the way, everything now is cover bands. You could go somewhere right now.
Right over to Beer Garden
Or
here.
Funky Biscuit, they're
Yeah.
having a Jackson Brown cover band.
I love Jackson Brown. He was great.
Well, he's going
in
to be
college. Wow.
cover band for Jackson Brown.
Wow,
So these
Jackson-
kids are never
What was
getting
his popular song? I forget. He
Running on Empty.
Yeah, running. That was great. Oh my God, I can't believe you remember that.
Running on Empty.
Anyway,
The
folks,
Pretender.
The Pretender. Thanks for coming to the Cuddy and Govy show. Our reels are just, look for them on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. They're a lot of fun. Ben chops them up in the 60-second reels, and we're having a good time with them. We're going to do another Man on the Street maybe next week if the weather's good. It's been cold down here in Florida, 57 this morning degrees. And we're excited for it. Anyway, thank you very much.
See you next week.
'Cause I'm only